So Ultimate Texas Holdem, also known as Heads Up Holdem, is a poker-based casino game where the goal is similar to blackjack, that you're trying to defeat the dealer, and you're actually not in any sort of competition with the other players. It uses a standard 52 card deck and is typically played on a table very similar to a blackjack table, a semicircle with all the players around the dealer who's pretty much dead center. So the game is rather interesting in that you are required before any cards are dealt to be putting out two separate bets. One is the ante and one is the blind. Now, I'll be explaining how that works in a moment, but what's important to understand is that both the ante and the blind have to be of equal size. So it's like in this example, 5 and 5. So I'm gonna have one player here, I'm gonna put another player over here, I'm gonna put another player over here, and we'll put another player just over here. All right, and then now I'm gonna be dealing these cards face up, but what's important to know is that in traditional Ultimate Texas Holdem, the players and the dealer will all have their cards face down, these initial two cards they're dealt. So I'm gonna be flipping these face up, okay? And then two cards get dealt to the dealer, and all 5 community cards are put face down. So everything's in play right now. Now, unlike Texas Holdem, where there are 4 rounds of betting, in Ultimate Texas Holdem, there is actually one less, only 3 rounds of betting. There's the pre-flop round, the flop round, and then the turn and river round kind of combined together. Each particular round of betting, players only have 3 options to check, bet, or fold. If you're checking, you're essentially saying, I don't want to put any more money in this hand. If you are folding, you're trying to get out of the hand without putting any more money in because now you're required to. Or ultimately, there's the option to bet. Now, bets always have to be a minimum of 3x the ante, but maximum 4x the ante. So that just gives you a general idea of what kind of stakes we could be possibly playing at. The most important thing you need to know about Ultimate Texas Holdem is how the betting works. Now, I've already given you some initial information about what those bets are and how they're structured, but now let's talk about how they're paid out. The first is, of course, the ante. Now, the ante is a mandatory bet, just like the blind, and is paid out at a rate of 1 to 1 if you actually win. Now, it's important to understand is that players can only win the ante bet if the dealer's showdown hand is at least a pair or better. This is called opening. If the dealer does not have at least a pair, he has not opened the hand, in which case all ante bets are returned to the players as a push. If the dealer does have at least a pair in their showdown hand, then it goes to an actual comparison of player to player. If the player themselves have a better hand than the dealer, and the dealer had at least a pair to open, they win the ante bet, again at a 1 to 1. Now, inversely, if the dealer has a better hand than the player loses. The blind is another mandatory bet and is equal to your ante bet. It's slightly less complicated though to determine who wins, since it throws that dealer opening completely out the window. So if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. It's pretty clear and simple. The only extra rule is that you can only win if you have a straight or better. So something like a straight, a flush, full house, 4 of a kind, or even a monstrous straight flush. And in fact, the better your final hand, the better the payout. A straight pays out a paltry 1 to 1, a flush something like 3 to 2, full house 3 to 1, and the chart goes up higher and higher, with a royal flush paying out a monstrously ridiculous payout of 500 to 1. The last bet I want to talk about is this idea of the trips bet. I had mentioned it earlier. It's also known as a best of 5s bet, and the trips bet is a completely optional wager, very similar in scope to the side betting that happens in blackjack. Players put down a simple wager before the hand even starts, and it pays out exponentially based on the strength of your final hand. It's called the trips bet because only trips or better, or 3 of a kind, will actually give a payout. Anything less than 3 of a kind is simply a loss. The last kind of bet I want to talk about is the play bet. Now, play bet is similar to pretty much any betting that you're used to when it comes to Texas Holdem. And essentially, it is money you put down after those initial ante and blind bets. What's also very interesting about play bets is that you could pay out on those bets even if you don't have a straight or the dealer doesn't have a pair to open. It is completely contingent on you having a stronger hand at the showdown than the dealer, and pay out typically 1-to-1. Now, what's also very important about the play bets is that you are limited to how much you can bet depending on which round of betting you are in the actual round of the hand. So pre-flop, you are limited to that 3 to 4x window that I was talking about earlier. After the flop, you are limited to just 2x. And then finally, in the round where we reveal the turn and river card, you only can make 1x on your ante. You can only raise once per round, so keep that in mind. And all bets are pushed if the game result comes with you and the dealer ending in a tie. So a split pot would just be a push. So now let's take a look at this hand and see how this would have played out in this particular situation. Now, every player, starting with the player to my left, is given the opportunity to make these play bets. They are going to just pass. So for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to put any more chips down. I'm simply going to say that every player checks through the entirety of the game, and we're just going to show how that would look. So every player has been dealt their pre-flop hands. Remember, these cards would normally be face down. All cards would be face down, except for these community pool, which will be revealed. And then we do a round of betting. Once that's completed, remember each player can only bet at maximum 4x their ante. So at most they could bet $20 because it was a $5 ante. So we're gonna say that no players, they all just check. They're just happy with their cards. I don't see any player having a really monstrous hand, so let's just assume that's okay. Now I'm gonna reveal the flop. Okay, so it's 6 of clubs, 7 of spades, and ace of spades as well. So I'm looking around and I see this player has a pair of 7s, and this player over here has a pair of aces. Okay, so remember, after the flop round, the maximum play bet you can make is 2x your initial bet. So I'm gonna say that this player right here feels very squirrely and really likes their pair of 7s. So they're gonna go ahead and bet 2x. They're gonna bet an additional $10. And then this player over here has a pair of aces. They feel very confident. They're gonna go ahead and bet another $10 as well. Now this is a play bet. This is their blind. And of course, this is their ante. Now, this player right here still feels not so confident. They're very satisfied with how much they've already invested in the hand. Now, we have one more round of reveals. So we reveal a 4 of spades and a 6 of spades. So now any player holding at least one spade has a flush. So this player right here feels very confident about their odds. And so does this player over here. These players less so, because all they have is a pair of 6s, which of course is shared with the dealer. 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7, not a straight. So unfortunately that player has got nothing coming. And over here, they also have nothing coming either. So again, we go to this player here first. They're allowed to bet, again, just 1x their ante. So they're gonna go ahead and throw that on top of their play betting. This player over here is gonna check. This player right here is gonna bet 1x on top of their play bet. And this player right here is gonna check as well. So now, the final step is for the dealer to reveal their cards, okay? It looks like the dealer has Jack 8, so that makes their best hand they can put together. A pair of 6s, ace, Jack 8 kickers. All right, so first we compare the ante. So remember with the ante, the dealer has to have at least a pair to open their hand. They open their hand with a pair of 6s, so that's enough. This player right here, as I established, has this flush, so they obviously win with a better hand for the ante. This player right here has a king over the dealer's jack, so that means they win the ante. This player also has a flush, so they win the ante. And this player has a queen over the jack, so they win the ante. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So now it's time to compare the blind bets. Now, remember, you are only eligible to win the blind bet if you have, as a player, at least a straight or better, and the payout on your blind bet is contingent on the strength of your hand. Obviously, the stronger your hand, the higher the payout. So this player right here has a flush, an ace-high flush. And flushes are paid out, as I established, at a 3-to-2 ratio. So that means a $5 bet pays out 7.5. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put 8 out just for the sake of ease. This player right here only had a pair of 6s, but they had the king kicker. So that means their hand is slightly better than the dealer's, but it was not at least a straight. So that means that they in fact lose, not lose, but push their blind bet back to them. So they neither win nor lose that money. Over here, again, we have this player who has a ace-high straight, and so they're paid out again at a rate of 3-to-2. So we'll go ahead and give them another 750. We'll round it to 8. And over here, this particular player has a queen, which is better than the dealer's jack, but is not good enough to profit on it because it has to be a straight or better. It's not, so that money gets pushed to that player as well. The last thing to think about here are these play bets. So we have $15, it looks like, that was bet by this player. Obviously, this player has a better hand than the dealer, so that's just gonna be a 1-to-1 payout. And then same thing over here, we have this player who has $15 and they have a flush that's paid out at a rate of 1-to-1. So you can see here, it looks like this player broke even, this player broke even, and these players over here had some nice paydays. This is all the winnings for their respective piles. Very nice.